Now, before the Pope took off for Greece, he had a meeting with Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. The meeting wasn't scheduled ahead of time, but Sanders had said that he hoped it would happen. Our Ben Wiedemann got a chance to speak with Sanders about that meeting, including the issues where he and the Pope do not see eye to eye.
It is no secret that my view on women's rights, on gay rights, on contraception is different than the church's. But I think in this world, what we have to do is work with people when we can work with them. And his leadership in terms of the need to create a moral economy, the need to make sure that we transform our energy system so as to prevent climate change from wreaking havoc on this planet has been extraordinary. So you work with people in those areas you can. Where you disagree, everybody knows what the disagreements are, and let's work together where we can.
And certainly in the reporting leading up to the conference yesterday, there was an indication that there's an element within the Vatican that has felt the burn, so to speak.
That may be the case. And if so, I am honored and pleased by that, because the truth is, I think it is fair to say there have been few members of the Senate, if any, who have been more outspoken in support of the role that the Pope is playing in the fight for not only economic justice, but talking about the need to create a moral economy. What we have now, where so few have so much and so many have so little, in my view, is not only immoral, it is unsustainable. And certainly in terms of climate change, if we don't boldly address this crisis, I worry very much about the kind of planet we'll be leaving our kids and our grandchildren.
Now, why do you suppose the other people running in this election and in this lead up to the election, none of them were invited? Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, Donald Trump.
You'll have to ask them, and you'll have to ask the Vatican.
And now there has been some talk that you sort of abandoned the campaign trail to come over here to Rome. How do you respond to that criticism?
If anyone has been following me in New York State for the last week to talk about abandoning anything, we've been doing rally after rally after rally. We had 27,000 people out of Washington Square Park. We're going back to do another rally, I think, tonight. We're going to be working very hard for the next few days. We'll have talked to over 100,000 people in upstate New York, in almost every borough in the city of New York. We've been working very, very hard. But I did feel that getting this invitation from the Vatican, given my enormous respect for the Pope, is something that I just could not refuse.
Okay, and he brought up that question that a lot of people are wondering, what does this trip mean for the voters in New York?
Yeah, is it consequential? Let's dig a little deeper there with CNN political commentator Errol Lewis, who is back with us. Errol, we know statistically that Northeastern Catholics who live in that area of the country tend to lean more Democratic than Republican, more than in maybe other parts of the country. Will this be consequential? Do you think that there will be able to, maybe not specifically, but there will be some result favorable to the Sanders campaign for having made this trip to Vatican City during the New York primary campaign?
You know, we're all scratching our heads here, Victor, honestly, because while it may help him, I don't know if it's going to help him in the traditional way that you just outlined, where you get to, you meet the Holy Father, and then the Catholics back home might give you a second look, or think that you're one of them, or think that you're in line with their values, and maybe they're a little bit more inclined to vote for you. That's really not the way it works. In a lot of ways, the Pope has come to stand for sort of a global progressive figure. So we had our Mayor de Blasio here in New York City, travel to meet the Pope and to attend a similar kind of conference talking about income inequality. And it was sort of like putting a little gold star on somebody who I think was already associated with a lot of those issues. But as far as simply attracting Catholics, it just doesn't work that way. And it really hasn't for a while now.
So let's check the inverse now. I mean, we know that Hillary Clinton is in California while Bernie Sanders is in Rome, but he has the ground to make up. Latest Wall Street Journal poll shows that he's 17 points behind. Will there be some negative impact of having taken these 2 days off to be out of New York?
Well, on Wednesday morning, they may be kicking themselves and wondering if maybe there were a couple of more appearances they could have made. That's if it's a close race. I don't know if it's going to be that close of a race. I mean, we did our own poll, New York One did, about a week ago. And at that point, all polls are sort of a snapshot. he was down by about 12 to 14 points. Some subsequent polls by other organizations suggest that he is not closing that gap in a way that it's being picked up by the polls, at least. So unless he's got some sort of a surprise coming, he's still got a lot of ground to make up. Now, those rallies that he's mentioned, they're really quite extraordinary. I mean, you know, he said 20,000 at Washington Square Park. I've heard that the police estimates were that twice that many people were in the vicinity, but just couldn't get into the area. He's generating quite a lot of excitement. He certainly did at the debate the other night. So we may get a surprise on Tuesday.
All right, Errol, you're with us for a bit more this morning. We're going to turn toward Hillary Clinton in just a moment. Thank you so much. We'll continue the conversation.
Right. You got it.
Christy?